Met with members of the Senate and the White House to talk about a bipartisan infrastructure collaboration. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you. And let me just ask, Josh, I'll start with you. Is bipartisan a plan that will actually make it when it comes to infrastructure?
I actually believe this is one of the key areas where you can get bipartisan support. And after talking to my Senate colleagues this week and obviously working with great congressmen like Brian Fitzpatrick, what's clear is there's a path forward here, and we're working together ready to get it done.
Congressman Fitzpatrick, we had Congressman Patrick McHenry on, a Republican, one of your colleagues, earlier this week. And he said, look, when you start talking about an infrastructure bill, he thinks about roads and infrastructures and making sure you get wireless to everyone and internet connections to everyone. He thinks that a lot of the far left in the Democratic Party look at this as climate change and other things, that he just doesn't see things the right way. How do you take those two sides of the parties and bring them together for some sort of bipartisanship? What does bipartisanship mean?
Well, number one is how we define it geographically, rural, urban, and suburban, and also substantively, not just roads and schools and bridges, but subterraneous water piping, the IT infrastructure, the electrical grid. And it's got to be bipartisan, meaning that the funding mechanisms need to be, balanced. When it comes to user fees, there's been carbon pricing proposals, taxing batteries for electric vehicles, but it's got to be a responsible plan. What we don't want is a Trojan horse vehicle that's, masked in the word infrastructure, but is actually a Trojan horse for other policies. So it remains to be seen whether that happens. I'm hopeful. We have met with President Biden and Vice President Harris. They've said all the right things in the meeting. Let's see if they can deliver for us.
You sound a little more hesitant than Congressman Gottheimer does. You have concerns about being able to bring your party to the table on this?
No, I'm not concerned about bringing our party to the table. I think that what we have to do is make sure that we are brought to the table and that everybody's priorities are included. What I don't want to see is, just single party solutions being advanced. That's not sustainable. It's not what the American people want. But like I said, the meetings have started off on the right foot, and that is hopeful. Josh, who's the leader of our bipartisan problem solvers caucus, we're going to have a big role to play as far as a solution, because with that narrow margin in the House, it's only 6 votes. We as centrists play a key role in driving that solution forward. I sit on the committee of jurisdiction, and we're going to have a big role to play, and I am hopeful. I will say that.
Hey, Josh, let me ask this. I can understand how a lot of people on both sides of the aisle get together and say, look, infrastructure is a great thing. We've been hearing this for years and years and years, that we need an infrastructure package. Obviously, we need more spending on roads, bridges, tunnels. We need to make sure that people get high-speed internet access. We had Debbie Stabenow on yesterday, the senator, who brought on her package to try and make sure that there are ways to bring jobs back to jobs and processing and supply chains back to the country. When it comes to Detroit, when it comes to the coal area of the country in West Virginia, Manchin has signed on with her for that. Everybody has things that they would like to spend money on, but it probably gets a lot more complicated when you try and figure out how to pay for that. How do you tackle that part of it? How do you bring the two sides together on that front? How will you pay for it?
Well, first, you're exactly right, Becky, about what the need, right? You've got, where I live in northern New Jersey, and you know it, right, our roads and bridges, eighth worst roads in the country. A third of our bridges are considered unsafe. You've got water and sewer issues, and we put some down payment on that in the American Rescue Plan that we just passed. And broadband's a huge issue in the rural parts of my district. So clearly there's a need, and across the country there are different needs. The way you pay for it, in my opinion, I think there's plenty of ways to pay for it without raising taxes. And, Brian talked about things like user fees. There's a huge issue where you can close the tax gap of going after tax cheats. That's worth $1 trillion. There's public-private partnerships, which I think could be 10 to 15% of this. Obviously, there's some debt financing you can do when you can borrow so cheap right now, knowing it's going to create a lot of jobs and bring economic growth back to the table. An infrastructure bank is something that's been around for a long time and actually is making a resurgence right now. So I think there are plenty of ways to pay for this. The key, though, is, as you said, is figuring out where you start in terms of what is included in the package. There are a lot of demands that our country has because we've ignored this problem for so long. So now you've got to deal with that. And you need to make sure that, as Brian said, that it's reasonable, avoid the Trojan horses so that we can bring bipartisan support together here. I think it's very doable, and that's why we're working on it right now.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.